Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me okay in the back as well? Yeah? Okay, great. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I am Moira Patterson with IEEE Standards Association, and we are excited to be hosting a session on information integrity as an infrastructure for trust today. This is a very important topic, and we are excited to have a great panel of speakers here. I will briefly introduce the speakers, and then we will jump right into some remarks from our speakers and then some questions where they will share their valuable insights with us. With that being said, I also want to let you know that I have a co-moderator who will be taking over in the middle of the session, so we are a dynamic and interesting session for you today. So our speakers, and I'm going in alphabetical order here, are Amir Banifatemi from AI Commons and Cognizant, Gilles Fayad, who is a fellow at MBRSG, Yuko Harayama from the GPI Tokyo Expert Center, Mohammed Misbahuddin from CDAC Bengaluru, Tanya Perlmutter from Fundación Albeona, Karine Perset from the OECD, Gabriela Ramos from the Task Force, Alpesh Shah from the IEEE SA, Maria Grazia Squicarini from UNESCO, and Yui Stewart from MasterCard. We are very excited to have this panel here and to hear from them. But to kick us off, we want to start with two very brief provocations to really talk about the importance of our topic today. So first, I welcome Alpesh Shah to the stage.
Thank you, Moira, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. You know, it's a very interesting time because here we are to celebrate all of the ambition and power of what AI can bring. At the same time, we sit in sort of a conflicted position of what does it mean for all of us? And often now the question becomes, why does the world need to focus on information integrity and trustworthy information and online ecosystems? And a lot of this comes down to the point of, as much as we're seeing more and more people making use of AI chatbots, AI systems, innovative approaches, at the same time, there's a level of mistrust in the information people see online. And it's not just the information in terms of what they're consuming by reading, it's also the deep fakes. It's also the improvement over social heuristics. It's also the issues that we see in the interactions that children have relative to many of the systems out there that were never designed for them, but were designed for different business models that didn't really enable access to information in a way that allowed them to retain their agency. And as a matter of fact, if you take a look at this, the OECD AI incident monitor simply continues to show more and more incidences, not less and less. And of course, this is if you have a flashlight and you aim it at something, you see more of it. But there's so much more at the same time happening that we're not taking accountability for. And this means that now we begin to come at a point in our lives, this inflection point as a whole, where we must start to really think about now, are we working together in a way to look out for the best interests of humanity? Are we really taking into account the necessary types of methods by which we work together, despite all of the volatility we see? And can we accept the volatility without doing something about it? Here, we see a very important opportunity for us to not neglect during our time here over the next 4 days. And this is very much about developing proactive governance frameworks, the ones that can allow for improved interoperability across systems, reestablish trust at a global level, and in an open manner with inclusion of different stakeholders, right? One of the signs when you came in So also about not just AI for AI, but AI for inclusion, AI for innovation, responsible innovation, safety. All of these things, they don't exist on their own. And these systems we're designing are meant for people in the end, not for the systems themselves. And I will share at least that, from my perspective, as a public charity with over 500,000 technical engineers across 190 countries, with a mission to advance technology for humanity, this is one of the reasons why we have dedicated such a considerable amount towards the advancement of AI ethics and AI ethics-based frameworks. And with over 75,000 members here in India, we have such a cadre of individuals very much committed to helping advance things here, including with Mr. Sri Chandra in the back, who oversees our India office. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpesh. And we have one more framing provocation by Gabriela Ramos.
Well, thank you so much. So nice to be in this summit. And thank you for the invitation. I was introduced as a member of a task force. The task force is about inequalities and social-related financial disclosure, because inequalities is at the core of this discussion. But Amir, thank you for inviting me. I was at the OECD, I was at UNESCO, so happy to have Maria Gracia and Karin here with us. And as Alep has just mentioned, when we talk about information integrity, we're not talking about an abstract ideal. We're talking about the basic infrastructure that we need to protect our democracies, to protect our people, but to protect our decision making. Each one of you get information that nurtures your thinking and also the decisions that you need to make. So it's really the core of our societies, and as you mentioned, the trust that we need to operate in this field. And therefore, when we think about that the ecosystems can be tampered, that the ecosystems can be put into danger, and the integrity is just flawed with the misinformation and disinformation, we know what we're talking about. And then we get the generative AI, which can do these things, manipulation, filter bubbles, and all the dangers and the risks that we face in the internet space at scale. And it's very difficult to identify, it's very difficult to protect ourselves. And when we think about the governance in a way that is just voluntary principles, let the market decide what to put in the platforms or not, and if there are dangers, they will correct. I think this is a question of core governance of our systems and protecting our citizens. And therefore, it cannot be led just to the private sector alone. And then I was also asked to address one of the issues that is, I feel, the most risky part of all the whole system, which is youth. Young people, children, because they live in this ecosystem filled with fits that might be not the reality that we were private when we were younger. And therefore, they have very clear difficulties to define what is real and what is wrong, what is true and what is not. And therefore, they get trapped into these systems that can be really misleading. And we also have a new challenge that, for me, this is taking away my sleep at night, which is the companions, the anthropomorphization of these tools that will lead to you or to anybody. I don't know how many of you use ChatGPT to ask personal questions? Raise your hand. Come on. Pew Research Center said 60% of the population use it for personal purposes. And therefore, we need to be careful. We need to be careful because at the end, we are entering into fields that are very complicated. And if you think about converging technologies, as we did when I was at UNESCO on the neurotechnology and the emotional attachment, neural data, that is feeding and featuring exactly the things that you want to see, the things that get you engaged, the things that get you driven and triggered, I feel that we're really getting into a very difficult situation. So the question here is not a content problem, it's a system problem. And because it's a system problem, we need to address it with the government's infrastructure that we have just heard. Countries are starting to do it. Of course, high in the scale is the EU acts, but the UK also got some decisions in their own legal infrastructure. But we also have the question of, we've heard that Australia, France, Spain, just saying no smartphones for young people below age 16, which I feel is a very wise decision. So great to be here with you and to hear a very interesting conversation.
Thank you very much. And so we've already heard some provocative ideas related to this important topic. It's about people, it's about solving problems for people. Generative AI is accelerating the challenges we're facing. And of course, how do we help young people thrive in this environment? So we have our 4 next speakers. I will ask them to speak from their perspectives about the key issues that we are facing now, to also show the urgency and the perspective from their organizations. In the interest of time, I will not come up between each speaker. So I will ask that Amir, Karine, Maria Grazia, and Mohammed each share their own perspectives to help us kind of lead through this discussion. Thank you, Amir.
Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone. Sorry, my voice is a little bit tired from last night's the flight arriving this morning, but should be good. So, following Alpesh and Gabriela is not easy because they're basically so eloquent about topics. I'm going to be very basic and pragmatic about what I'm talking about. As we talk about information integrity, you've heard about deepfakes, you've heard about manipulation, you've heard about all these issues. The problem is that we're facing a two-speed problem. On one side, you have institutions and regulators coming up with framework based on principles, of course, right? OECD principles, other principles of AI. About regulations to help protect us. So EU AI Act is one of them, NIST risk framework is another one. Some countries have also adopted their own. So policy is moving forward with some principles and they will translate to standards and gradually going to adopt them. But at the same time, we see an increasing growth of AI deployment at a very rapid scale that leads to this dichotomy, this difference of speed between policy and between technology deployment. And this creates a chasm because we don't sync them together, and policy may fall behind a little bit because every time there is something new happening, we need to think about it and we're catching up instead of being preventive about it. So when it comes to misinformation or manipulation or deepfakes or anything of those, there's really 3 issues. One is that people can be bad and use systems for their own benefit. So they're called bad actors. So this is really a threat. You used to use cybersecurity capabilities for that and to protect systems. But AI can be also make mistakes because the models are not trained properly, because there is issues with data, because we build systems that are not fully transparent, accountable, and there are some systems that are operating. The third wave is the wave of agents, where now we have situations where they can be autonomous and not necessarily being bad actors, but somehow not making a mistake, but voluntarily changing their objectives and come up with new methods. So in these 3 scenarios, what is left for us humans? How can we trust information? Is it because it comes from Wikipedia, it comes from an encyclopedia, or my teacher, or our governor, or is it because it comes from a scientific article on Nature? So what should I believe? We recently did a conference, scientific conference about a year and a half ago called Ishkai. And we did that conference, we authorized authors to use the chatbot of their choice, ChatGPT or Claude or others. And we asked them to mention that they have been using this. So we, as judges, reviewed all those scientific papers. And we didn't pay attention, but 2 professors basically paid attention and realized that some of the references in the bottom article are references to famous authors at other conferences never existed. So you've seen this before, right? So we're becoming scenarios where even scientific papers may lose the true north. So what is the situation that we have to do? So really these two speeds are an issue. So when we thought about this aspect, we're thinking about that, how can we accelerate innovation to catch up? Because innovation in policy is not fast enough, and innovation by private companies is growing at its own speed, and open source is doing its own, and we're all learning and catching up quickly, but there is no sync between the them. So if we really wanted to have a framework of trust and information capability to be trusted, maybe we should sync the two of them and figure out scenarios where we can both implement scenarios that are technically valid and sound and trustworthy and accountable and with liability frameworks, with transparency, with provenance, but at the same time be able to implement policy that is built with incentive, but also with mechanisms of control. These two are not synced, so the purpose is to sync these two. So what you're going to hear today, a little bit of the thinking that came out of the meeting of many minds about how we can actually think about accelerating innovation to catch up these two elements, because now they're disjointed, right? Many smart people are thinking about policy. Many of them are here today or in these forums. Many smart people are doing it, but we never had this opportunity to solve this problem together. So there is an opportunity to do so, and you're going to hear more about it today. Thank you.
Thanks, Amir, and hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Corinne Perset. I'm deputy head of division of the OECD's division on AI and emerging digital technology, and delighted to be here today. I won't repeat what my colleagues have said before, and just want to echo. I think that what Gabriela said about the children and their reactions speaks very, very much to me, because I have 3 teenagers, and I see what they do and what they say with their social medias, with ChatGPT, with all kinds of other GPTs, and many things that I don't see. But the things that I do see are pretty scary, because they really show that they're not prepared, they're not equipped to deal with this with so much information. They have no way to navigate this world. It really calls for helping them, because they're younger, they're more vulnerable, they don't have the experience that we have as grown-ups. They need an environment where the trustworthiness of information is ensured, or at least that in some places, and many more challenges. So I'd like to mention that to address the governance challenges of these rapidly advancing AI systems, such as particularly generative AI, but agentic and more as we move on, the Hiroshima AI process was launched in 2023 during Japan's G7 presidency. And this was really about promoting international governance on AI, international cooperation, on AI governance. And the G7 at that point called on international organizations, the OECD, the UNESCO, AI Commons, IEEE, international organizations and multilaterals, to promote international cooperation on policy developments and practical projects, including on information integrity, because you really can't distinguish the policies from the practices, and the policy and technical solutions have to go hand in hand. You can't have one. Again, they're operating on different time frames, and that's why under Italy's G7 presidency, we developed the Hiroshima AI Process Reporting Framework, and early insights from those submissions really show that tools for content authentication and provenance are still at a very early stage, and mostly used by a few large companies, and these tools really need to become scalable, interoperable, and so on, if possible. So that's one route, but there are many more, and that they need to work together. So the challenges are unprecedented in scale and complexity. And I think the key point that I want to make today is that no single actor can address these alone, that we need to all work together to do that. And through collaborative, cross-disciplinary efforts that combine policy innovation with technical ingenuity, those are really, really important to bring together. And we have a real opportunity and actually a pressing need to advance this cooperation and promote transparency and trust for the future generations. So thank you very much.
So, without further ado, first of all, I'm so much happy to be here and honored because the person on my right-hand side that was announced as member of a task force was actually the Assistant Director General at UNESCO until a month ago. And she didn't say it, but she was the force behind UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence and the adoption in 2021 of these fundamental principles that until now actually represent the only global normative instruments that exist around the world. And since then, and even before that, because we have been discussing issues about misinformation, disinformation, and fake news at UNESCO, there has been a lot of work. And why? Because actually the inherent challenge of the AI era in information is the difficulty, as was mentioned by previous panelists, to distinguish what is real from what is not. So there is a problem of identification. And it's like, walking in a dark room without being able to see anything. Would you do that on a normal day? No, you wouldn't. But nevertheless, we do every second, because there is another challenge that is awareness. We are seldom aware and fully aware of our rights in that space and when we are confronting AI systems. So these are all issues that actually are already addressed with some policy implications in UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. And this applies also to what was mentioned before, and in the jargon is called synthetic content. It can be data, it can be videos, it can be anything, it can be images, it can be text. And very often it's really difficult. Imagine then, if you couple this with the quantity of information we receive every day, that is in addition, in theory, customized to tailor our profiles, then you get the challenges we are exposed. And allow me to underline one category that is actually under the focus of this discussion, and this youth. Youth is a priority group for UNESCO because we recognize the centrality of not only being part of the discussion, because they're going to outlive us and the future is theirs, but they're very part of this very present. And I think that's sometimes the mistake that is done. And again, under Gabriela's leadership, we launched at UNESCO the youth as researchers. That is, let's discuss issues that affect the youth, not talking about them as a problem or as a category to be dealt with, but as part of the conversation and part of the solution, part and parcel. And why that is fundamental? Because it also links, for instance, to all the work that UNESCO does in relation to education, skills. Karim was mentioning the fact that this goes much beyond what is awareness and goes also about our cognitive skills, our emotional skills, as Gabriela was mentioning. So these things are completely intertwined. And let's also look at what in the jargon of economists is called spillovers. By the time we discuss issues related to misinformation and disinformation and trustworthiness for the youth, we are actually addressing another category which we seldom talk about, and these elderly people. The problem is very similar, although for very different reasons. Young people were born digital. Young people trust technologies because they think they're part of their own life. Older people, they have the choice, typically because they are technophobic to some extent. They have difficulty in engaging with the technology. They have this bifurcation of choices whereby either you trust them in full because, frankly, you're not able to deal with, or you distrust it. Now, going to the issue of trustworthiness, the problem with that is that if we cannot trust the technology will also become inherently worse because the data we are going to convey will be patchy, and fixing patchy data to have predictions that are accurate is actually a very challenging thing to do. And now, allow me to close with one thing. There is nothing more dangerous than giving something for granted. And this applies, of course, to information and the trustworthiness of the information, as it applies to institutions, as it applies to values, human rights, and democratic values. Back over.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Basically, I am from cybersecurity background and recently ventured into AI ethics, working with Government of India in CDAC. I would like to just put the perspective of CDAC and what is happening in India from the trustworthiness as well as a very important topic of information integrity. Basically, information integrity is how do I know what I am seeing is real, is authentic, or is valid or not. Because these days, with the AI deepfakes and all that new jargons, you are not able to make out what is real and what is fake. Okay, but what India has done way back in 2000, we have enacted an act called as Information Technology Act 2000, which was amended in 2008, where integrity and authenticity was the core components of the trust. Okay, and these were used across all the kinds of applications. Now India has its own certifying authority, controller of certifying authority, which is the highest root trust body, which actually takes care of the cyber security. I see a lot of commons between the trust aspect of AI plus trust aspect of cyber security. Now, from that perspective, if you look at how India built and where we are right now, if you look at in the beginning, we had developed the trust layer first in the name of Office of Controller of Certifying Authorities, and now we came up when the Aadhaar came, which is a verified unique identity. All of you might be aware of it. It's the largest unique identity database across the globe, because India is 1.46 billion population nation. And whatever project you have to do here, whatever solution you have to implement here, it is to be population scale. Now, coming to that perspective, we already have the information integrity as well as authenticity, verifiable identities in place. Then we slowly moved on to authenticating the documents from the electronic signature perspective, wherein one-time signatures, it is called as OTP-KI, basically, instead of OTP, one-time public key infrastructure. So any document you can authenticate without having a digital token. Now, from this perspective, we are ready with that transaction as well. Now, the goods and services tax, GST, which is filed here every month, is now being digitally signed, which provides you pure integrity, because it becomes a non-tamperable document. You cannot tamper. If you tamper, it is detectable as well. So millions of signatures are happening each day. Now, coming to the next example of unified payment interface, wherein you just for the common man, it is just a scan. QR code. You just scan and then make the payment, because the payer as well as payee both are authenticated in the backend infrastructure, which is again authentic, which is completely based on the public key infrastructure and the trust based. So this UPI, every month, billions of transactions are being signed. Now, just imagine me as a common man or a person who is non-technical or uneducated. I'm just simply scanning on what trust. We entered this building, right? Minimum 1 to 2 lakh, 100,000 to 200,000 people are with the footfall will be in the next 3-4 days. What we are trusting the building infrastructure, that it has a strength. And how we are trusting that? Because it is based on certain standards, it is based on certain regulatory framework. Exactly same is required for the AI as well. It is not only the policy, it is not only the regulatory framework that we announce, we have to announce the infrastructure as a layer in digital public infrastructure, which India has already been doing. Now look at the first center of excellence in DNS security. It is running in CDAC. Now, after 3 years of running, we are receiving 30 to 35 million queries for translating the IP addresses to the domain names on a daily basis. And at the same time, again, the entire backend is AI enabled plus public key infrastructure, digital trust based enabled. Because of which now the system is able to thwart and block 3 to 4 million malicious domain in these days. There are many more things that are there which I would like to talk about. Finally, this safe and trusted AI is announced by the government of India under India AI mission as one of the pillars. This is very important thing that we are doing here. And Yuv AI is for the youth from class 8, standard 8 to standard 12, giving the AI education and age appropriate design and the trusted design. Many more things. Thank you very much for this one.
Thank you very much for all of those insights. And we heard a lot of the common themes about multidisciplinary cooperation, about all the different layers and technical aspects and policy aspects and regulatory frameworks that are needed. And so I will now hand over to Tanya, who will take us through the second part of this session. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Tanya Perlmutter with Fundación Abiona, and everything. There was an incredible energy in the first part of this panel talking about what the problem is. I think we all understand now that we cannot do anything by ourselves, that trust is a fundamental human rights issue, and we have to come around and find solutions. And I'm so proud that we have this coalition here together working on this. And this second part of the panel will be addressing what, as a coalition, we could do together to move forward and find solutions. And Mohammed already addressed some of the technical parts. But let's see what we can do. And let's start with Yuko, who is going to be speaking about how education is important and how there cannot be only one solution, because culture, every country's culture is important.
Thank you so much. I started recalling my former OECD colleagues, Gabriela, Karin, and Maria Grazia, because I have not children, but the grandchildren. We may call them AI natives. And it's my concern, personally, how they will grow up. Because we don't know yet what could be the impact of using AI everyday life for the development of children. And they are underway to experiencing and learning and integrating in themselves emotional skills, normal value systems, and how interact human-to-human interactions. And most of all, I would say they are learning agency to be themselves. And we don't know it, but really, in the practical sense, they're all using already. Even my small children of 5 years old, they're playing with it. It's practical and it's fun. But less and less time spending for human-to-human interaction, and we don't know yet. So what we need is really a collaboration across countries, across cultures, to make sure that we are tackling these issues together and sharing information in the way that we need much more work, academic work, scientific-based evidences to see what's happening and then what could be our reaction. And we don't have time to wait that people will come in 5 years, because they are growing up now. So we need to experiment in different way of really testing impact at the same time that what may have the impact of to be offline and comparing. And it is be rooted in your environment, languages, culture, countries, and so many things that you have to take account, so many factors within. So we have to work together to share and to find a way to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuko. And really appreciate what you mentioned about time. Time is critical here. We need to be together and work together and do it very quickly. Alpesh, I turn now to you. Can you tell us what technical solutions could be there and what IEEE is doing in terms of standards to advance working together and finding solutions for these critical problems?
So, the technical piece is interesting, but I think when you listen to what everyone has shared so far, the problem hasn't been the technology. The problem is everything else, right? We haven't figured out how to evolve in the same rate that the technology is now evolving. It's outpaced the way that we've been thinking about it in many ways. And so these concerns that we're talking about are the type that parents, adults, others, they're not familiar with, right? And so this adds to this layer. So when our colleagues from UNESCO shared that it was important to have the youth involved in it, they're absolutely right. Because who better than the natives that are working with it, that understand it? In many cases, a 16-year-old has 16 years more in experience than an adult. Yeah, they've learned the mistakes. We haven't yet. This is why it's important when you talk about having frameworks that allow those that are affected to be included. Inclusion is a very critical element here. And we also heard from Amir about the issue of struggling with reality. And yes, this is also a real problem. We saw this happen when metaverse technologies were advancing, but when there were crimes occurring, people really felt as if it happened to them. Haptic technology caused people to feel the actual reaction, and it stayed with them the same way psychologically. It means that there's a fictive line we've drawn between digital and reality. There's just reality. We should stop pretending. And the governance then that is required is a governance type of system that hasn't existed for quite some time. But the type we need is one that allows us to work together quite effectively. For us, from the side of standardization, I'll say that we are a global organization. We see all kinds of problems. You know a standard is good when nobody's happy. That's how that works. But think about it this way. You have a room full of people that want to kill each other. And yet at the end, they all have come to a conclusion that they can live with. That is what a standard is. So if you can imagine that it can happen here, it can also happen elsewhere. This is why, and I think it was very well said earlier, there's a great deal of work that every one of our institutions have done. If you take age-appropriate design as one, we've had Indonesia, the UK, number of states in the US, Brazil, Australia, China now, a number of countries taking up this fight around age-appropriate design based off of our work. At the same time, we've seen a host of them take on our AI ethics elements. We have over 250 different initiatives at IEEE right now on AI. And a high percentage of those now also cover the socio-technical elements. And why? Engineers are incredibly smart. Engineers have incredible heart. But it's not always easy to translate from what you know so well into gray areas. This is why we've created tools and norms to help. But I go back to the point that was raised earlier. No one can do it alone. Because nobody has the context alone of every single problem that could exist. That means you must have a way, no matter how much you want to close yourself off to everybody else, you must have a way to interact with others. Sovereignty is not about closing yourself off to everyone. Sovereignty is the ability to make your own choices. And this is why I'm very excited to be collaborating with OECD, AI Commons, and many of the others, UNESCO, and a host of others on this global trust challenge. Because as much as what we've done is making a difference, as much as UNESCO has done is making a difference, as much as everyone, the work they're doing is making a difference, the point is there are multiple models that are required. And what part of the beauty of this, and I'll just share my personal opinion, is that what they are looking at, what they have been evaluating, isn't just the type of ideas that are in the beginning stages. They're looking at things that are concrete, that exist today, and how can we go instead of from 0 to 1, instead 1 to n. The gentleman from CDAC shared earlier about scale. This is what this challenge is looking at. Scale to address issues associated with misinformation, disinformation, and onwards. So, from my own perspective, I see the challenge itself, as well as the modes and models of governance that are emerging through these various partnerships, being a very interesting mechanism to both engage with, as well as to perhaps even partner with in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for these enlightening remarks, and the fact that a coalition, a very strong coalition that is needed to tackle these issues is emerging as so important. Gilles, I turn to you. Can you tell us a little more about why partnerships are so important and why we need more partners and to work on this together?
Yes, Tanya, thank you very much. So, essentially, I'm just going to share with you some numbers, right? 85% of the people who read something don't think that the information is accurate. Yet 8% will go and check if the information is accurate. So about 75% are okay to go on with the information even if it's not accurate, right? We talk about the global the global issue that we have in terms of trust, but that global issue is also different whether you're in the global north, so-called global north, and so-called global south, even though the global south is not one entity, but yet it shares some common characteristics with respect to infrastructure. 80% of the research is being done on the global north, not on the global south. The information infrastructures in the global south, the digital divide, the access to information, the impact of that information, and the trust in organization is much less in the global south than it is in the global north. The solutions don't scale from one to the other. You cannot translate a solution from the global north and put it in the global south. This is the work of everyone. There is no one size fits all. Every entity, every organization, be it at the AI level, technology, or at the policy level, or in a specific field, needs to work on it for their specific area. We breathe trust. What we do as individuals or as organizations is based on trust. If there was no trust, there would be no communication. To the point that the gentleman was making here about cybersecurity, if you think of the issue we have with trust, it's the same as cybersecurity, but at the societal level. We need the ability to address these challenges. And to do this, we need to partner up. And the partnerships need to be open to everyone. Again, it's not about finding one solution. It is about helping everyone come up with solutions to the point where these solutions can be not only proven in the system through the challenge. The proof is in the pudding because the challenge gets you from a proposal to a prototype to a pilot stage. So the proof is in the pudding. If it works in the pilot, it means it works for you. It means others can get inspired from it, and others can also replicate it. So we are here looking for partners, and Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government, for which I'm a research fellow, is a partner in this initiative because we recognize the issues in AI policy in terms of problems of information integrity and also in terms of the digital divide that we face in the global south. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilles. Yui, I turn now to you. Could you tell us why trust is a basic fundamental element of what MasterCard is all about? And explain why corporate participation in coalitions like this is so critical.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tanya. Part of the good thing coming last is that I don't want to repeat everything folks have said. So I say yes to everything that has been said. But let me introduce MasterCard a little bit in terms of Tanya's question. So we are a technology player in the global payments ecosystem. What we do is that we connect merchants, financial institutions, small business, and governments. We bring them together. We do this across 200 countries and locations around the world, and we process about 150 currencies. Just think about that. That is trust at scale. Let me give you two quick examples. For a company, our philosophy is that we do well by doing good. So I'm going to give you two quick examples and I'll wrap up. Example number one is in cybersecurity. Do you know that in the last 3 years, we have prevented nearly $50 billion in fraud? Cybersecurity is key to information integrity. One last quick example, because I sit in the Center for Inclusive Growth, and you all have talked about the inclusive component of this. Think about what happens in the Global South, where there is misinformation. And a small business owner is actually told that you can't use WhatsApp because if you do, they're going to steal your information. And this small business owner stops using WhatsApp because of misinformation. What has happened? The very infrastructure that supports business is destroyed. And this person is set back economically. That's why we need to be honest with information integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very clear. Gabriela, I turn to you for closing remarks, and you and I will probably talk together about what is why the Global Trust Challenge that is now open as a crowdsourced solution to solve these problems all over the world is so important. Could you please tell us?
Let me just. It's not working. Can I have yours? Yes. Thank you. Well, let me say that I want to finish with a positive note for our audience. You've heard it. We have solutions. There are solutions to this problem that we're facing. Of course, the Global Trust Challenge, and we're calling for everybody to come with their own solutions. You have something to do by yourself in terms of having critical thinking, in terms of questioning what you receive, in terms of media literacy. Merve, you here with KDP, with the AI literacy is so important. We have technical solutions, and I'm so glad that we are in your hands, because at the end, what if we just ask that whenever there is this synthetic content that Maria Gracia mentioned, we have a watermark? Shouldn't we be protected like that? When it's content generated that is not real, that we know that is not, and the technical solution is there. Age verification is there. But there is nothing more important than policies. And that's where you hold your countries accountable. Yes, global cooperation, but each country has the tools. It's not that we live in the Wild West. We have the legal infrastructure there that prevents misinformation, probably in the old age, but at the end we need to upgrade it and we need to cover for the new challenges that we are facing. So you also have something to do, because you need to go back to your governments and hold them accountable. We need to go back to the companies and hold them accountable, and to get liability regimes, because there's nothing more effective than having a sanction when something is wrong. So let's just get that right and enjoy the ride in the internet and the AI beautiful space.
Thank you so much for that. You heard from Gabriela. The Global Trust Challenge is a coalition of high-level partners. We are all here. It's a global effort. We need people who to work together, and we are looking to teams who are going to submit solutions that are at the same time technical and governmental, and we need to work together to promote this challenge. Please come to talk to us. The entire team is here, and we look forward to talking to you and moving this forward. And yes, look at our website. There is the QR code. The technology, as you can see, is there to come to reach us and to work with us.
So just say the website. What is it?
It's globaltrustchallenge.ai. Globalchallenge.ai. But if you search Global Trust Challenge, you'll find us as well.
And they can come to us to talk to us.
And please come talk to us.
Bring all the solutions.
How many directions? Do they teach you business?